Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Tonight we're diving into the Las Vegas Raiders. This team has been under fire all offseason, and it's kind of strange when you think about it. Last season, when Antonio Pierce stepped in as interim head coach halfway through, people started to notice he was building something worth watching. As the season went on, the Raiders became one of the top defenses in the NFL. Then came free agency. The Raiders didn't sign a quarterback, which wasn't totally surprising, but people were paying close attention. They were keeping an eye on the Raiders, expecting big moves. When they signed Gardner Minshew, many still thought the Raiders would draft a quarterback in the first round. I did too. If you've been following this channel all summer, I was convinced Michael Penix Jr. or Bo Nix would be available at pick number 13. But guess what? The Raiders didn't take a QB. So now, as we look ahead to the new season, people are wondering, what's the plan? Is Aiden O'Connell the guy? Is it Minshew's team? The point is, the Raiders are building something. Maybe they aren't Super Bowl favorites this season, but there's something good happening here. I know a lot of people are freaking out about the quarterback situation. Some even think the Raiders will have a top 5 pick in the next draft and should go after a big-name QB like Shedeur Sanders, or even pay big bucks for Dak Prescott. But honestly, this team doesn't need to make those kinds of moves right now. They're not quite Super Bowl ready, but they're headed in the right direction. Before we jump into all the details, if you're enjoying the content, hit that like button and subscribe for daily NFL and Raiders updates. Let's try to get this video to 100 likes. It would mean the world to me. I've been covering the Raiders for 3 seasons now, and I see the progress. This team isn't far off. If we look purely at the roster, I'd say they're at least average, with stars like Max Crosby and Davante Adams, and now adding a top rookie like Brock Bowers. The Raiders have some serious talent. People are just panicking because they don't have a star quarterback. But hey, let's keep things positive. In this video, we're going to look at some power rankings and what the experts are saying. Spoiler alert, it's not pretty, but we're going to break it all down and set the record straight. I came across a hot take recently, and it really surprised me. It was either from Bleacher Report or The Athletic, but their bold prediction was that the Raiders are primed for a hot start this season. So here's the excerpt I was talking about earlier. I think it came from Diana Rini, and it said that the Raiders would start the season 5-1, despite rumors of a Davante Adams trade request, which, by the way, Adams shut down himself just yesterday. The article claimed this team is way better than the one Antonio Pierce led to a 3-1 finish last season. Wait, 3-1 finish? That doesn't sound right. Anyway, I guess I didn't proofread that part, but moving on. The article talks about the Raiders having an easy early schedule and that they could become serious contenders by the trade deadline. This is literally the only positive thing I've heard from the NFL media, beat writers, or even random Twitter opinions. Let's break down the schedule real quick. The Raiders kick off the season on the road against the Los Angeles Chargers, who have a new head coach. Then, they face a tough road game against the Baltimore Ravens. But after that, they come home for matchups against the Carolina Panthers and Cleveland Browns. Next, they hit the road against the Denver Broncos and then come back home to face the Pittsburgh Steelers. After that, things get a bit tricky with road games against the Rams and Bengals, plus a home game against the Chiefs, followed by their bye week. If the Raiders start the season 5-1, it would blow the minds of 99.9% of NFL fans. That tiny 0.01% who wouldn't be surprised? Die-hard, optimistic Raiders fans. Now let's shift gears a bit and dive into the negativity. I read a couple of power rankings, and The Athletic ranked the Raiders at 26th. Their preseason analysis focused entirely on the quarterback situation. According to them, there's no way the Raiders signed Gardner Minshew to a 2-year, $25 million deal, hoping he would be their starting QB. His preseason performance hasn't been stellar either, but he's been better than Aiden O'Connell, which isn't exactly a good thing for O'Connell's future. It's crazy to me. When the Raiders signed Minshew, people were optimistic. He led the Colts to a 7-6 record last season and almost made the playoffs. Sure, the Colts are improving, especially on defense, but I believe the Raiders have a better roster overall. If Minshew can lead the Colts to a solid record with decent stats for a backup, I don't see how the Raiders can be ranked so low. Let's not forget, the Raiders went 8-9 last season under Josh McDaniels with Jimmy Garoppolo as their starting QB. Now, when we look at the AFC, another ranking I found had the Raiders as the 14th or 15th team, one of the worst in the conference. The ranking mentioned how Aiden O'Connell's numbers were similar to Minshew's during his 7-6 run with the Colts. Now let's talk about the value Gardner Minshew brings to the table. He's a scrambler, and that sets him apart. Yet some analysts seem to be underselling the Raiders' defense and special teams. I even saw an anonymous exec, because they're always anonymous, make a point about head coach Antonio Pierce. With only 9 games of head coaching experience, the exec questioned how Pierce would handle decision-making and manage the team if they don't succeed right away. Those are fair points, but if you actually watched the Raiders last season, I wouldn't worry too much. I'm taking that criticism with a huge grain of salt. Now, on to another article I read, which pointed out that the biggest issue for the Raiders is still their quarterback play. And of course, The Athletic, who seems to have it out for the Raiders, did a ranking of every starting QB in the league. Guess where they put Gardner Minshew? Dead last. Yup, they ranked him 32nd out of 32 teams, even compared to rookie QBs. There's no way Gardner Minshew is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL this season. I mean, Jacoby Brissett comes to mind as someone who could easily rank lower. My point is, it feels like the NFL and the media are sleeping on the Raiders right now. A couple of months ago, this wasn't the narrative, but here we are. The good news, the Raiders are about to prove everyone wrong. That's it for today's video. A little bit of hype mixed with some unfortunate pessimism, but we had to address it. If you enjoyed this, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for daily NFL and Raiders content. And most importantly, drop a comment below with your prediction. What will the Raiders' final record be this season? I want to hear from you. Peace.